Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Tonight, I'm joined by a relatively newcomer to at least the ultra scene, running. We'll start talking about it in a minute, but I'm joined by Nikki Sheridan. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
No problem at all. Um, First off, question to ask first question I ask everybody is, who are you? Whereabout do you stay, and how did you first get into running?
I am Nikki Sheridan and I live in Glasgow. And I got into running, I suppose you would say I'm a COVID runner, so to speak. So I got into the body coach series shortly after I got COVID. It gave me a bit of a fright having seen the effects of it on the news and what have you. And then just through meeting other people through Instagram, through the body coach community, some of them were running and it snowballed from there pretty much.
What is body coach? Is not something I've heard of before. Do you want to tell
The
us what
body
that is?
coach is Joe Wicks.
Okay.
He founded PE with Joe. So he done workouts from your living room during COVID. He done PE lessons and things like that. I followed him before COVID. He has a personal trainer. So I followed him from about 2014 or so, 2015. His niche was he done meal plans like prepping in 15 minutes, and you'd have your dinner in 15 minutes. I bought his cookbooks and things, done some of his YouTube workouts, and then from 2020, I suppose that was his big break, I suppose, because none of us could go anywhere. And there's an awful lot of parents that had young kids or school kids at the time. The schools were encouraging PE with Joe as part of the PE lesson because we were in lockdown and not encouraged to go out.
First thing that sticks out there is, does 15 minutes meals work?
It actually does if you're prepared enough. Usually with these things, it's the preparation. It tells you it's 15 minutes, but if you're anything like me as a chef, it takes me 15 minutes to peel and chop one potato.
So his 15 minutes is, if you've got everything ready, you can cook it in 15 minutes. Is
I
that
would
what you
say
mean?
so, yeah.
Yeah. So, how did the kids get on with PE at home? Were you the hard instructor? How did you?
At the time, my youngest, she was only 2, so she was just toddling about. So my older girl, it's 2 girls I have, she was 4 or 5 at the time. So she just bounced about with me. It was almost kind of like, monkey see, monkey do. So she sees me doing squats, she was joining in, and then the 2-year-old gets under your feet when you're trying to do a burpee, and it got interesting.
So can they out squat you?
Oh, absolutely. They've got better form as well.
Well, they've probably got, what I find with mine is they haven't learnt to do it wrong.
Exactly.
So I think a lot of mistakes that us as adults make is because we've learnt to do it the wrong way, and it's difficult. It's like they don't know fear. Fear is a learnt thing, I think.
Definitely, and in running, that could be really useful to not have that fear for your form and technique going down hills,
Yeah.
especially.
Yes. Right. So next question is, you got into running through your body coaching. How did that develop into running?
It was a couple of female body coaches that were into the running and they were posting things, and I thought, I'd like to give that a try. So in 2021, when the rules were a little bit more relaxed, I used to like going out for longer drives and would head up to Mugdock Country Park, which is about half an hour away from where I live in the east end of Glasgow, and getting out among the trails and just, trying to run, so to speak, and taking in all the sounds, nature, seeing the lochs, the castle. It was so good for the mind more than anything. I would try to run, but then you're like, oh, this is really hard. It's killing me. And then you would slow down and just try and get better at that. So I suppose in a way I started trail running before I took it on. I was going to say a bit more seriously, like started training plans and what have you.
So is trail or tarmac?
Trail, 100%. Tarmac's too fast for me.
So where I live is trail all the time. And that is the way that we chose to live here for that reason, countryside and stuff. When I go into the tarmac, it's like, this is so much easier. Because like, although you're saying it's faster, it's easier to go faster because you've been running on trail.
Funnily enough, how you're actually saying that, using last night's run that I went on as an example, I was working 9 to 5 Saturday, Sunday, and last night I was like, right, I really want to go for a run just to burn a bit of energy off. And it was the first road run I think I've had in ages because I've been training on trail as much as I can for the whole year. And I went out and I thought, oh, this feels really good. It was supposed to be a 40-minute easy, which then for me ended up as tempo, because as the kilometres come onto the watch, I'm like, oh, that's really fast for me and I don't feel like I'm dying. Let's see how we get on. And then before I knew it, I was running up the hills, which my mindset in the past is, oh, it's a hill. We'll walk that and then we'll just run the downs. But last night, it felt really quick. I felt good. And I'm just putting it down to, as you're saying, because I've been training on trails, which is an entirely different beast, the road just felt so different, and not as much effort.
Yeah, but it can only be a good thing.
Definitely.
Yeah. What race-wise, you don't have to develop onto races, but I know that you've done a few. What was your first race? How did that come about?
Funnily enough, after I had my oldest in 2015, I wanted to get a bit fit. So throughout my adult life, my weight has yo-yoed. So I've went from going to personal training weights, running, trying different things. And after I'd had my oldest, I decided, oh, that Glasgow 10K looks really good. I think I'll give that a go. It'll be a good challenge. And that was, my oldest was born in the March, and that wasn't until October. So I thought, right, that's a really good time that I can train. And my training plan at that point consisted of like 3 runs between March and September. Done that run. And then I just didn't run again after that because it was really, really hard. And then once I'd got more back into the running, so to speak, and being influenced by other people on Instagram, I'm like, oh, do you think I could do a virtual 10K? Like, yeah, just make sure you choose somewhere flat because it's virtual and it'll be better for you. So I done the Edinburgh 10K in May 2021 around Strathclyde Park and managed to take about 15 to 17 minutes off my time in 2015, and then I think from then that's just when it took off, because I was like, this feels really good and I feel dead fit, and it just took off from there.
Right. And sort of race wise, I know that you've done a couple of ultras now because you've told me about it, but how did you sort of go from doing what you just described to doing ultras? How does
the 10K was in 2021, and I just continued. I didn't actually have a coach or anything at that point, or even any running plans. I was still doing the Joel Wicks body coach 4 times a week on YouTube, fitting runs in when I could, and then thought, right, I'm doing longer runs here. Let's see if I can do a half marathon. Done 3 half marathons in 2022. And at that point, I'd got myself a running coach online who mainly specialised in roads, but it did give me structure and an idea of training plans and finding out terms like intervals and fartlek and long runs and all the things that you would get in a training plan. And once I'd done the 3 half marathons, I thought, I wonder if I could progress onto a marathon, which then I did in 2023. had probably one of the best training blocks that you could ever have because I stuck to everything. My last long run was setting me on course for 4 hours 30 to 5 hours in a marathon. And when I got to Edinburgh and my coach ran with me, my feeling was so off because of the nerves and everything like that. I absolutely bombed. And it was one of the hottest Edinburgh marathons that you could have had, I think, ever. So then I ended up getting 5:53. Took a bit of a dip after that. But then I knew in myself, because the training had went so well, thankfully I had the foresight and mentality to say, you know what, it was just a bad day. So done a few 10Ks after that, and then signed up for ultras this year.
And I've done Edinburgh Marathon. I've done, I'm going to say 4 road marathons, and Edinburgh was one of them. And it was a roasting hot day that day as well. And other people have said exactly the same thing. So I think it's just, if you don't like the heat, don't do Edinburgh.
Well, that's the thing. I thought because it was downhill and flat, it was an ideal first marathon. I was like, oh, what could go wrong? But with hindsight now and knowing, you learn so much, even from the bad one. In fact, in the bad ones, I think you learn more than the good ones, a lot more, because you know what not to do next time. So
Well, the year that I did it, I got to the checkpoint just several checkpoints just in time to get a drink of water because they ran out. They claimed that somebody had stolen the water. Whether that was true or not, it's not my place to say.
no, I was just happy, Mike, that my year I got a medal with that time. So I'm just counting myself lucky.
There's one year, if you search for Edinburgh Marathon medal, and the shape of the medal is interesting. It looks like a men's appendage.
So what other road marathons have you done apart from Edinburgh?
Edinburgh was my first, and I've done Loch Ness 3 times. I've done Fetteresso Marathon. It's a off-road trail marathon. Done it twice. And I think I've done 60-something ultras.
Wow.
So yeah, ultras is the way to go. So you've said you signed up to ultras. Which ones is it you've done?
So my first one, originally I wanted my very first ultra to be the Devil, which Devil of the Highlands.
Which you're wearing the t-shirt.
Exactly. Spoiler alert. Which, on speaking to by this point, I'd met quite a lot of yous virtually, and I'm not shy in asking questions, as you know.
Uh-huh.
And I was toying with this idea, I want the Devil to be my first ultra. And quite a lot of people says, right, do a 50K first and just let's build up, because there's no doubt that you will be able to do the Devil, because this was back in November 23. I'd made this decision. They're like, right, you can do things in between this. You will be able to do the training, but do a different ultra as your first one, because you need to prepare for that ultra distance in an event. So it ended up, it was Ross Beveridge that recommended the John Muir Way Ultra. That's on his doorstep. And he says it's flat. It does take him part of the Edinburgh Marathon course, the very beginning of it, but it's not on the roads. It's to the side on the trail. And then once I'd done that, it was actually a really good suggestion, because there was different terrains. So it was from trail to road to North Berwick Beach, which I absolutely hated.
I can't stand running on sand.
It was horrendous. Anybody that you speak to that done the John Muir Way Ultra this year will all tell you that it was probably one of the worst headwinds that they've, because it was 50 kilometers of headwind, which for me, I was like, I didn't think it was that bad, because it was my first ultra, so I had no reference to anything else. But everybody else is like, oh no, that was terrible. That was a terrible first ultra for you, Nikki. And I was like, no, I thought it was okay. It's not put me off. You know, I'm actually really proud I've done an ultra.
Yeah.
So then I done my next one after that was Run the Blades 50K, which was my last long run before the Devil. I'm coached by Nicola Dawson, and she I ran it by her just to make sure, because before Nicola became my coach, I'd signed up to this and says, what's your thoughts? And she's like, well, you can do it as your last long run, but don't make it competitive. Like it's an event, which if you know me, all the events are an event. I don't think I actually thought I was more competitive until I started ultra running. And now every event's just an event. I go to see if I can finish and push myself. And then we done the Devil in August.
You say competitive. Are you competitive against yourself? Like if you did the same race next year, would you be looking to better your time?
Definitely. I think I would, yeah. At the minute, I've not got any plans to do any of the 3 that I've done this year, but I definitely would love to go back and do it, just because I've got other challenges, which I'm sure we will come to later on in the interview. But just at the moment, and also I'm trying not to fall into the trap of signing up for everything, which I'm like, right, this is my last one. And then something else will come up and I'll be like, oh, John, who's my husband? I'm like, what do you think? He says, you said this last one was your last one. Like, I know I did, but...
Yeah. Right, you mentioned your coach, and how long have you been with this coach? And you mentioned the online coach previously. Is that different people?
In the time I started having a coach, I've actually had 3 coaches. Okay. So my first coach was Craig Baines, who runs under the company RWB Coaching. And he was fabulous for getting me started. He was really supportive. He came up to Edinburgh Marathon to run it with me. And he was a good coach. But I decided it came to a point where I wasn't enjoying roads. I was more enjoying trail running, and trail wasn't Craig's strength. And I wasn't sure at that point, this was towards the end of 2023, I still wasn't sure what direction I was going to go in. This was before I'd signed up for John Muir. So we decided to part ways, and I didn't have a coach for a couple of months. And then I went under Mike Houston. I had to think I was going to say your name there. Under Mike Houston, who is a relatively new coach. It was kind of, Mike's one of my really good pals, so he's like, oh, I'll help you out with the coaching and I'll get you to your first ultra. I was like, oh, terrific. And that was really good. That worked out well. But then again, Mike, he has ran quite a few ultras, but when I seen Nicola Dawson, who I've been with now since June, I listened to her interview on Young Hearts Run Free, and it just got me thinking, and she's got so much experience, particularly on the West Highland Way, which really intrigued me. And also as well, she's a female coach. So I'd went from 2 male coaches. I thought, actually, she's a mum, she's busy, I don't know, I just feel as though we had a lot more in common.
Yeah, more relatable to what you are going through.
Yeah, definitely. And when I'd spoken to Mike, I'll not lie, I was absolutely dreading saying, look, I'm going to go with a different coach. And he was fantastic. And we're still really good friends now, which is good and which is what I wanted. So I've been with Nick since June. And she's just fantastic.
Is that in person, online? How does that work?
A bit of both, actually. She lives in Mulgai and runs a running group, Epic Trails, which you can go to every Thursday. You sign up on Entry Central. It's £3 plus 50p booking fee, but she doesn't actually gain, like she doesn't personally gain from it. It goes to a certain charity of whatever choice. So be it Mountain Rescue, a trail charity. And the more notable one is she's actually funded the defibrillator at the St Malka at the Cabeth. It was all the Epic Trails money that paid for that defibrillator. So it does all go to a good cause, and you get to run with a really lovely group through the trails of Mulgai. At the end of each month, they'll go on tour somewhere in Scotland. I mean, Central Belt.
Is that open to anybody to sign up to?
Yeah.
And you just search Entry Central for Epic Trails?
Epic Trails, and then it will tell you each distance that she's doing every week. So at the start of the month, she'll do 6K, then 8K, then 10K. And then at the end of the month, it'll be on tour. So they usually start at Mulgai train station, which I'm still a bit of a geeky fangirl about, because being brand new to this scene, the only times before I'd went to Epic Trails was I would volunteered at the Fling, and I went to go and see the start of the West Highland Way with all these amazing runners. And when you go to Mulgai train station and see the big sign of the West Highland Way start, it's quite special.
Yeah, I think I've been involved with the West Highland Way, well, since I started ultra running anyway. So that must be about 14 years or something now. So I've been in Mulgai on the longest day of the year at 1 o'clock in the morning several times. So
it's just an amazing community, just from, looking into it just this year, just learning who are the core parts of the community, and it's just a really lovely group of people. So that's what's drawn me to the West Highland Way events.
Right. Sorry for jumping all over the place. Back to, you were saying about, you said something about your job. I can't remember what you said. What is it you do for a living?
I'm a radiographer.
Okay. What does that involve?
It involves doing x-rays, CT scans, MRI scans.
I've had a few of them.
I hope we were all lovely to you.
The surprising amount of ultra runners work in places like cardiology and I can't remember the name of the scan that I can't even remember the name of the person that does it. It's like an ultrasound, but on your heart. What would that be called?
Echocard.
ECG or EKG, whatever one it is. Yeah, there was an ultra runner that did my scan for that. It was an ultra runner that did my the one that goes through your wrist and into your heart.
All right, the angiogram.
Angiogram, yeah. I sat and watched them do it on the screen while an ultra runner poked my heart with a wire. So yeah, they're all over the place. You can't get rid of them.
I'm discovering that. I'm still learning that. I got quite excited when I found another radiographer that is going to be doing the same event I'm doing next year. She's like, "Oh, I'm not prepared." I'm like, "Oh, I get that. We can go together. It's fine."
So does that involve being on your feet, or you sit behind it?
Yes. So my specialty is CT scanning, and that is never ending. It is a conveyor belt because the service is so busy. It's non-stop, which I really, really enjoy. And you just get a wide range of patients through. So you get everybody from like the extreme end of traumas to like your cancer scans, your follow-up cancer scans, people in remission. And sometimes you get to follow patients' journeys, which is really rewarding. So it's lovely to see when they first get a diagnosis where it's really, really grim and it doesn't look good. It's lovely to see when they come back and say I'm in remission and the scans are starting to look clear. It's really rewarding, actually.
Yeah. And for you, with that type of, you're on your feet all day, how do you feel that helps with your running? Or does it make any difference at all? For me personally, I sit behind a desk all day, so getting outside.
I think, to be honest, because I'm used to it and I've been doing it for quite a while, it kind of just becomes sort of like your norm. So you have to push a bit more for the training. I would actually say it's more the mental side than anything. That, if you've had a long day and you have been on your feet all day and it's been physically and mentally exhausting, it is actually harder to get out the door, because when you come home, all you want to do is just get your dinner and sit in front of Netflix and just put your feet up and just switch off from the day. But a lot of the times as well, like, see if you've had like quite a traumatic day that's been mentally challenging more than physically, a run really helps with that, and it helps you clear your head. Or it does for me anyway. Maybe not everyone, but
yeah. So something that I heard the other day, and you could probably use this. You're seeing patients that are in pain, suffering, and then you go out for a run and you think, I'm sore. It's like, well, no, you're not compared to somebody that you saw.
Yeah.
So that makes your pain, I don't know, disappear. It's irrelevant compared to what some people you've seen.
Yeah, definitely. One of the best runs that I had a few years ago, one of my friends, his wife was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer, which was really quite advanced. And they had at the time 2 very young children. And it just kind of put a perspective on life, and you're like, I'm going out for a run, and I actually, not because of their pain or anything like that, but because I could go out and run and just switch off. The news was so shocking for everybody that knew the couple, and they're a lovely couple. It was just like, a sense, I know it sounds really cheesy, but like a sense of gratitude of my body can do this.
Yeah.
But then when the pain hits and, mentally and things like that, it sometimes is hard to push through because it does really hurt, like that.
A lot of the times, the only way to get through it is to practice it. So you felt it. So the next time it's easier, maybe, or not.
Well, that's it. And one of the things I did worry about when I was doing the 50Ks, I'd spoken to Rachel McPherson. I speak to her quite a lot about ultra. She's fairly new as well to the scene, but absolutely smashing all of her events. She's done like Lakeland 50 and bigger, like one of these 24-hour races. And I was like, Rachel, what's it like? Like, see when you get that pain in your hips and your backside and your low back and you're really struggling to move. Like, what worries me is how bad does that get? And she says, well, actually, it gets to a point, it doesn't get worse. So you just keep moving. And I learned that is the case. You just got to keep going. And it is mental rather than physical at that point.
I think it's Rachel. She's involved with the Wild Heart Runners.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you taken part in any of them? Karen and Debbie have both been previous guests, so shout out to them.
I've not yet. I would absolutely love to. Just when, in fact, no, I tell a lie. That is a really big lie. I went on the Pentlands run. But there was quite a lot of us, so it ended up being the natural splitting into groups and what have you. So it was Rachel that arranged the Pentland Skyline run. I'm trying to think when it was. I want to say it was June or something like that.
Okay. Right. Changing subject again. No offense to Rachel.
She's not easily offended.
No, I can imagine not. You said that your weight yo-yoed. Do you find that running helps with that, or is that a reason to run?
It's not a main reason, no, not anymore, because it's funny because I wrote a post on Instagram the other day about this, I posted a picture of me from 15 years ago to very recently. And in the first picture, I look unhealthy. I don't even want to say the word like fat or anything because everybody's perception of fat is completely different. But to me, I looked unhealthy.
Yeah, if you're talking about yourself, I think it's a fair point to. If you've got a comment about you, I think it's a fair thing to say.
Yeah. So I looked a bit more unhealthy than what I did now. And what I did mention in the post was, ironically, if I was to step on the scales then and now, I'm actually not much lighter than what, between the two pictures. Like, I'm quite happy to say I was a little bit like horrified, but then I thought, actually, I'm being daft here. Like, I stepped on the scales and I'm nearly 70 kilos, which no one believes me. But that's the way I am. And everybody just says, oh, well, you're building your leg strength and things like that. And it's muscle. Because people say, oh, you certainly don't look it.
Yeah.
But it's more just, I just want to be healthy. Because after getting COVID, week 6 into our lockdowns, that gave me a fright. because at that point, during the lockdowns and the pandemic for the UK, Boris was on the TV telling us, if you catch this, you'll die.
Yeah. Well,
so getting it was really quite frightening and shocked me into, right, I need to get fitter here.
I guess your line of work exposes you to more of that sort of problem area, I guess.
Yeah.
I've never knowingly had COVID, and I don't particularly want it.
No, well, it kind of, I was really fortunate. It didn't actually affect me badly. It felt like a cold, and I lost my taste and smell for about 3 weeks, which was the most devastating effect. Because when John brought me my morning coffee and it just didn't taste of anything, it was quite upsetting.
So, do you drink lots of coffee?
Probably far too much. That's a common theme in healthcare as well.
Do you, when you run ultras, do you, what is it, a caffeine strategy? Do you drink coffee during the run, or anything like that?
I've never tried it yet. I'm still very, very much, as you know, I'm still really new to finding my feet in ultras. So far, I've only been trying active route in actual events, and then the longer I was running, the active route was starting to make me feel a little bit sickly. So I have 2 500ml flasks, active route in one, and water in the other. Yeah. That was a good bit of advice that Mike had gave me, and trying real food. But now, since the devil, I've had a chat with a couple of other ultra runners and people that happen to coach, and one of them said to me, well, why would you neglect your fueling when you're spending so much time away from your family? As you've said, you feel mum guilt sometimes, you're spending all this time. Try and get your fueling nailed and you'll do better. So since then, I've tried Torque and Tailwind gels.
Yeah, for me, nutrition is almost as important as training itself.
Yeah.
So you can't get your nutrition right, then there's no point.
No.
Yeah, when you're talking about active fruit in one and water in the other, too much sweet stuff, you get flavor fatigue. So yeah. you don't want to drink it anymore. And if you're not drinking, again, that's a problem. And especially when somebody said to me once, when did it get to nutrition and hydration? It's food and water. And why are we mixing them? Why are you drinking your calories?
Yeah,
I think a lot of these foods, drinks, nutrition products, like active fruit, are top-ups. Mm-hmm. I believe that you still need to have real food as well.
It's good advice, that, definitely. I think the problem I've been having is definitely not getting enough calories in, and mainly like carbs. It's more carbs as well that I've not been taking enough of. So when I discovered that the Tailwind has like 50 grams in 500 mils, I was like, actually, that's really good. So I'll maybe try and get that on. But for sure, like you're saying, try and like real food. I mean, if you're doing especially a long trail event, if you're going up a hill and you're walking, in my instance, when I'm walking, there's no excuse not to eat. You're walking, so you can walk and eat. It's not going to shake in your stomach or make you feel sick or anything like that.
The other thing you've got to think about is, if say your race starts at 8 o'clock in the morning, well, did you have breakfast beforehand? Probably. But if you're still running at sort of midday, are you having lunch? Are you counting that in your calories? So your body just needs the fuel just to allow you to live, ignoring the running. So yeah, I did a food thing I was sweeping the Great Glen, and I basically ate as much as I would normally eat in a race, but the food was whatever anybody left on the checkpoint.
I enjoyed that video. It was really good, actually. And that's one thing. See, when I volunteered at the Fling, that was a massive learning experience, because I got stationed at Balmaha checkpoint, And I had never heard of anything like the scavenger table and things like. I was like,
Yeah.
what's that? Oh, well, people can't take their if they don't take their stuff with them and they leave stuff behind, they leave it on this table in case other people can benefit. I'm like, it's amazing.
Well, as the comments that I got were, oh, I can't believe you're eating so much. But it's like, no, that's how much you should be eating.
Yes.
It seemed like a lot, but you should have been eating that much. So
I suppose the thing is as well, and not to be like crass in it, I'm probably going to make everybody laugh when I say this because it's me. But one of the things that actually used to give me the fear, not so much now, maybe a wee bit still, is see if I ate too much, I would need to go to the toilet.
yeah.
And I'm determined that this must be a common fear amongst new runners. It is definitely a fear amongst road runners. I know that. Because they don't want to Paula Radcliffe it, but in the trail circles, it seems to be celebrated in a bit of a rite of initiation if you don't do it.
Yeah, the question is not whether you do it or not, it's how did you wipe afterwards.
Exactly.
So yeah, moving on. You mentioned Instagram earlier. How we met was you just sent me a message, and I'm quite happy to talk to people. I don't get many messages, so if anybody wants to send it, I'll probably reply to you, unless you're a not nice person. I did reply to you, so obviously.
I don't know, is relentless the word?
No, you provided support. I was actually doing a backyard, I think, and you provided remote support at the time, and I was grateful for it. It keeps you entertained.
I've got that advice from John Cassidy, actually, from Young Hearts Run Free.
Yeah.
Send the message.
If you're worst case,
about it, send it.
Worst case scenario is you get ignored. Mm-hmm. Oh well, nothing to lose. So.
Exactly. Or they just don't see it or what have you. But this is one thing I have found through Instagram. I've been finding a lot of, I would class you as a front runner because you win things, you podium things. Any front runner that I have spoken to has been nothing but lovely if they have if they've seen my messages. The pylon community, they are absolutely second to none. Like last year I went on a run with them at Boxing Day and somebody had put me in touch. I'm like, I can't go on that. That's a pylon run. They're all elite. Absolutely no way. And I ended up getting convinced into the run. I was like, right, okay, I'll go because I've got 16K on my plan. I'm like, I'm going to be really slow. I'm so sorry. Just to the point, I actually even downloaded their route onto my watch. And just in case they all went, which I was prepared for. I was like, because they're fast. You know, I'll just go and do the route and I'll catch you all at the end or something. Not once did any of them leave me. Like they stopped, they regrouped, and let me take a breather. And that's just what running's all about for me. You know, that inclusivity.
Yeah. Talking about inclusivity, and you mentioned you've got a coach. Are you a member of a running club?
I ran with Mount Vernon Runners for a long while. Which I've not been to for quite a long time because, again, they are mainly based on roads. But if I would say that I was like committed to a running club, it would be Mount Vernon. But as I say, I've not been for quite a while just because it's not fitted in with the training plans. But again, they are all so supportive. I'm still in touch with quite a lot of them. And again, they have a mixture of abilities. Week by week, I'm seeing the Instagram posts, the group's growing. So, you know, it's grown so much.
Yeah, it's just the running club that I'm with, Newbury Dunes, on a Thursday night, they have basically the run that you just described where people go out, everybody waits, nobody gets left behind.
Yeah.
It might be that you split into two groups and one group goes a bit faster than the other, but nobody gets left on their own.
Yes.
I think a lot of running clubs, if you're not doing that, then you're not worth joining. So
no, absolutely not. And don't get me wrong, there are running clubs out there, as you say, that they are elite and that's just what they are. You know, they compete. That's just the way they are.
They've got their place.
And there's
But
nothing wrong with that at all.
no, if you're joining a running club for an elite runner, then that's fine. If you're joining it for the social aspect, then that's a different story.
Yeah.
So, being supportive, have you said that you you supported a checkpoint in the Fling. Have you done any other races?
I volunteered at Glasgow to Edinburgh a couple of weeks ago and went to the start line there. And then they gave me the job of traffic marshal, which I was so anxious about because it was at a wee crossroads. And I'm like, oh my God, what if I direct the entire field up the wrong roads? Which thankfully the front runners, they all knew where they were going, but it's just to make sure no one does a turn off. But once they'd all passed, I'd relaxed a bit. And then I was at checkpoint 3, which is, I can't remember, Dullator, I think it's called, but it's just like on the other side of Croy Hill, along that part of the canal. And it was a really nice checkpoint, actually. It was tiny, but their spread of ultra food was like a kid's buffet. It was fantastic.
And was that the race putting on the food for them?
Yeah. Yep. The food was all provided, which I've not actually seen at an event before, because any of the events that I've done, it's been drop bags.
Yeah.
Which is fair enough.
Majority of the races that I've done have been drop bags, which I think I prefer, because then you know what you're getting.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. GB Ultras, I'm on the understanding that any event they do, they will put that food on.
Yeah.
And the food went fast. The potatoes and cheese went first. We ran out of those first.
I guess that's a reason to get to the checkpoint quicker, because then you get the choice.
Absolutely.
If you're the last ones in, there might not be so much to choose from. You just get what's left.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, that was the case. But, you know, the people that did come in the latter stages weren't any disheartened. As you say, I think a lot of people would have thought, like myself, you're not even expecting anything apart from water at a checkpoint a lot of the time. So you're kind of like that. But for Glasgow to Edinburgh, I'm not sure whether they had drop bags allowances or anything like that. I would imagine for a 57-mile race, you probably could, because at the Falkirk Wheel, which is about halfway, there was a lot of supporters there. At our checkpoint, there was no support crews allowed because it was down a country road and there was hardly any parking, even for us. You know, we all managed to get in as the volunteers, but there was not a lot of space, so I could see why there was no support crews there.
Yeah. Well, contrast that to one of Mark Cobain's events, where you're running from the north of Wales to the south of Wales, Anglesey to Cardiff, and the checkpoints are 25 miles apart. So on the 25 mile and the 75 mile, you get water, and that's it. You get nothing else. On the 50 mile and the 100 mile, you get access to your own bag. He might provide you with a pot noodle, a cup of tea, or something like that, but he might not.
Oh,
so you don't know.
Is it Mark Cobain that does the tunnel? And this is it 100 miles round the track with no headphones and no support?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a track. Is it track 25 or something like that? Because he does it on the day that the clocks change, so that you get, it's not a 24-hour race, it's a 25-hour race, because you gain an hour because the clocks have changed during the race.
Yeah.
So he's generous. You get an extra hour.
Well, you're getting your money's worth, aren't you?
Yeah. But it's also a 100-mile race. So if you're doing it in 13, I don't know what the record is for 100-mile on the track, but you might be finished before you get the extra hour anyway. So
there you go. I don't know how I would get on having no support at all. Yeah, it's a bit jarring, isn't it?
You haven't been running that long. in the grand scheme of things.
No.
But have you had any injuries during that time?
Thankfully not. Touch woods. When I seen that on the question set, I did think actually I've been really, really lucky, because whenever I felt a niggle or anything like that, one thing I'm really quite diligent on is getting on top of it straight away. So I do actually think I'm quite, not immediately post run, but I'm quite good for stretching. Last week I'd restarted strength training and the DOMs were unreal. So I did try and go on the foam roller. John, my husband, is absolutely amazing at like kind of rubbing out the wee niggles, which, you know, does, I can't thank him enough for that. Like he just puts up with so much. And I'll just say, oh, I've got a bit of, this bit's really sore on my leg. I don't know if he gets a lot of enjoyment out of it though, when I'm like, ow, that's sore. Oh, is it?
I'll just do it a bit harder then.
Yeah. But no, I'm really, really lucky that way. I don't even know if it's because I do the stretching and just try and do things like that that's kind of kept me at bay, or if I'm just trying not to push myself too hard, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So you said you do stretching and strength work. What do you do for strength work?
I'll do, at the minute, I'm doing weights in the house, but I'm hopefully in the very near future looking to join a gym. So Nick will provide me with a strength program twice a week at the minute. After this interview, it might be more. But the two strength sessions that she gives me, one's like half an hour and the other one's about 45 minutes. And it's just your usual, like, you know, press ups, bicep curls, you know, squats, leg strength exercises pretty much, which is so important. And I think runners, a lot of runners are guilty of not doing it, myself included. And I think that prevents you from injury as well.
Yeah, definitely. Do you haven't got injured, but how do you recover after a long run? You're saying you got DOMs after weightlifting. How do you get over
that? Keep moving, because the longer you sit and then you have to get up, that's the worst. So just kind of keep moving about, keep walking. DOMs is just one of those things that happens, you know, and DOMs have only happened for me because I've not done enough strength work, ironically. So I'm hoping this week when I'm on it, it'll not be quite as bad.
Yeah,
but just keep moving.
Yeah, active recovery. I fully support that. I do the same thing. In terms of kit, shoes, what kind of shoes do you wear?
I've got Nike Pegasus Trail 3s. That was a fairly decent purchase. They are really comfy to run in. You know, they're quite cushioned. For my trail events, I've been running in Innovate Trailfly Ultra Gs, which aren't as cushioned, but they work for my feet. So I'm kind of the opinion, don't change anything on race day. The only reason I hadn't used the Nikes is because when I initially got them, I was getting a bit of cramp in my foot, which gave me a bit of the fear. And I thought, right, if that happens early doors and you're in a long event, you just can't be having that. And then for the roads, I've got Nike Vomeros 15s. They seem to work really well for me. And then I've got Alpha Fly and Vapor Flies, which are real. I bought them on an absolute steal at the outlet. My Alpha Flies I managed to get for about £63 because they were the last size, which was mine, on the back wall. And then I had a student discount on top of it. So
do you get your blue card discount as well?
Yeah, it was that or the student discount, because I was back at uni at that point. And I didn't quite believe the hype. And somebody said to me, oh, they're placebo effects, carbon plates, because obviously I was still new. I was like, well, you know what? See if it's placebo. It works for me because I'm really fast at them.
It doesn't matter if something's a placebo as long as it works. So.
I find them a lot of fun to run in. And to be honest, I've been starting to use those for training if I'm on the road as well. Like I'll actually use them if I'm really not in the mood to go out. That'll be my treat to myself, because at the moment, I don't see me partaking in any more road events in the immediate future. So why leave them sitting in a box?
Yeah.
I'm not a podium or front runner or anything like that. So if they make you feel better, why not?
There are pages online. I've not done it myself, but people get them resold with Vibram soles, so they're grippier,
Right.
so you can have carbon on trails.
Ah, we'll look into that.
Whether it's worth it or not, I don't know. But
Well, I wanted to have a look at the Ultrafly Nike ones that they hadn't long brought out, and I'm like, oh, is that safe? Kind of, probably not for me, because you're asking about injury. That's probably when I would get injured.
yeah,
And gallus on the trails and go over and do something spectacular.
well, for me, whenever I get I can feel something happening, it's usually the cushioning in my shoes are going. And for carbon shoes, it's not the carbon plate that goes, because breaking carbon in that direction is, you're not going to do that with your feet.
Yeah.
It's the cushioning around it. So
What's your go-to shoe?
at the moment, Ultra Timp 4.
Right.
I've ran long enough that I've been through lots of different ones, but I'm now on pair number 6.
And will you change those during your backyard ultras if you get to a certain time? Will you do a shoe rotation?
I've got a race coming up this weekend, and I'm taking 4 pairs of shoes with me.
Yeah.
I won't change them on schedule. I'll change them when I feel I need to.
Yeah.
One pair is half a size bigger than the other ones. I've never worn them, but they're exactly the same shoe as ones that I have worn. So don't try anything new on race day, but they're not new because I've tried them before.
And will you change your socks, or is it just one of these you just don't touch your feet if they feel fine?
I think I've got 8 pairs of socks with me.
Yeah.
So if I feel that I need to, I'll change them.
Yeah.
I remember running West Highland Way once, and I got to was it Glencoe? Yeah, about Glencoe, and I swapped my socks because I felt I needed to. But the act of, and then I put the same shoes back on again, but my feet like almost expanded as I opened the shoe, and I was in so much pain.
Yeah.
Was it pain, as we said earlier? It was worse having changed my shoe. So I wish I never had taken them off.
Yeah.
You're saying, do I rotate them during a backyard ultra? Well, maybe if I feel I need to.
Yeah.
But key thing for me is have the option there.
Yeah. Definitely.
So that answers the shoe question. But what about other kit? Do you have anything like a particular jacket or anything like that?
You will never see me running without a buff. I absolutely love my buffs. I couldn't tell you how many I've got now. I've just seemed to be collecting them, but they're just so multi-purpose, as you say. Thankfully, I've not had to wipe my backside with any of them. I've not had to chuck any out. But funnily enough, like one of my incentives to get into Kinlochleven on the Devil Day, when I wasn't feeling great at the start, I'd actually put my 2 Young Hearts Run free buffs in my drop bag. I know you can't get these ones anymore, so I was like, right, I need to get to Lochleven to get my buffs back. But jacket, like I've actually started wearing flancy shorts and Scots, and the pockets in them are absolutely phenomenal. Like you don't have to wear a flip belt or anything, because the pockets at the side carry your phone, gels, keys, anything that you would think to take out with you. So when I do get a bit more money eventually, it's on my wish list to get more like leggings and things like that from Flancy.
Okay. It's not a brand that I've heard of, but if you're talking about Scorch, that's probably why.
Oh, they do all different and the designs are wacky as well. Like my go-to design before that was Tiki Boo, but I find Tiki Boo leggings really, really thin. So they're decent for summer, but for winter, your legs would freeze in them.
Yeah, I never wear leggings. I always wear shorts. Doesn't matter what the temperature. So there you go.
It's funnily, actually, until the flancy shorts, I was really paranoid about my legs. That's just kind of stemmed from being a teenager and having bigger, musclier legs, kind of thing. But just recently, I've kind of discovered no one actually cares about how you look. Everyone's kind of, they're quite insular. I don't mean in a selfish way, but no one's actually looking and going, apart from your shoes. People will look at your shoes, but no one's actually looking at, the whole thing and going, oh, look at state of them. I've kind of started to get away from that. So I'd actually like to wear more shorts in the future. Might start wearing them for winter like yourself and move on from leggings.
Right, moving back to the food questions. Do you say you use active root? Do you use gels?
I've started to try talk gels because I've only just recently discovered they've got more carbs than other gels. I've been gifted from one of my friends an active root gel, which are still to try, but that's got 30 grams of carbs in it as well. So anything like that. The only thing with the talk gels is they are insanely sweet. I've got a sweet tooth, and even I find it's like getting, see, the ice cream toppings that you get, is it treat they're called or something, and it's the sauce. For me, it's like getting a bottle of the syrup. It's like getting a bottle of that and just going like that down your mouth. It is that sweet, but I can tolerate it.
Usually, if I'm having gels, it's usually Torque, because they're, as you say, they've got a decent amount of carbs. They're compared to most gels, they're probably the cheaper ones out of for the amount of carbs that you get anyway. So yeah, but some of their flavors, it's like rhubarb and custard and stuff like that, which the worst gel that I've ever had was in that video that we were talking about earlier, was pink grapefruit flavored. I honestly stay away from it. I can't believe it. No, pink grapefruit SIS. So I can't believe that somebody put that in their drop bag. Well, I can believe that they left it behind, because it was absolutely disgusting.
I've actually been like really tempted to try Morton gels, but purposefully haven't, on the basis of they're absolutely extortionate. And I'm not Kyogi and getting sponsored by them.
Yeah. Well, that's another reason for helping out with the race. As you said, the scavenger table, as one of the very few sort of benefits of being a marshal. Yeah, you get to give back to the community and stuff like that, but you also get to rummage in the scavenger table.
Yep. Robbie Dunlop actually left a Morton gel, which I've still got. So, Robbie, if you're watching this, if you want your gel back, I've got it. I've genuinely been too scared to try it in case I really like it.
Yeah, because if you like it, you have to buy more.
Well, that's it.
Yeah, you just have to chum Robbie up.
And if anyone like from Morton is watching this, then me or you would love a sponsorship. Why not?
Yeah, definitely. Right, when you're out doing a run and you're with a group that's left you behind, and it's not the group that you mentioned earlier, no. What do you think about?
Have I still got my car keys? Genuinely, occasionally I will go like that on my pack and go, oh, it's still there.
You're not the only one.
No,
we all do it. It's like that sort of you walk across the bridge and you feel like dropping your car keys off the side. Why would you even do that? It's like, no, it's still there. It's fine.
Well, it's the fear, isn't it? Because if you get so far, then you have to go back and go and try and find them. And it's just the whole, right, I've still got everything. That's fine.
We were out on a club run once, and it was only probably 3 miles out, 3 miles back. Actually, it wasn't even that. We were doing intervals on, I think it was like 1 mile intervals. So you run out and back, and it was dark, but there was street lights, and then somebody lost a car key. but they lost it on the path.
That was fortunate.
No, they never found it.
Oh, they never found it?
No, I had a head torch in my car. I went and got it and went up and down the trail. We couldn't find it.
The only person I know that's managed to lose something and fortunately get it back was Kaylee Webster when she done, I think it was a recce, and I think it was organised by the West Highland Way group. And she was going from Balmaha to however far up, and then they were going back, and she dropped her phone. And I've no idea like how you can, because the phones nowadays are huge.
Yeah.
But thankfully somebody had handed it in to the coffee shop and she managed to get it back. That's what we were all saying. You were really lucky.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember coming over, we were doing a run on the West Highland Way. I was coming over Connacht Hill and I was at the back of the pack and came over and there was an OMM waterproof jacket. They're not cheap.
No.
Like, somebody's dropped this.
Mm-hmm.
So either I've gained or I'll take it down at the bottom and I'll leave it at the shop. Got down to the bottom. It was one of my mates had dropped it. So he was really lucky. He had dropped his jacket while he wasn't wearing it because it was absolutely freezing. But yeah, his very expensive jacket, he managed to get it back.
But I think most people, like on the trails, like anything like that, if they drop it, most people would hand it in.
Yeah. If there's somewhere to hand it into.
Yeah.
That's the problem. It's like, do you just leave it on the trail and hope that somebody else gets it? Yeah. So you don't know. Right. Having done your, was it 3 ultras, your marathon, shorter races than that, what's your preferred distance?
Still trying to work that out at the minute, but I think I'm enjoying the 50k distance just now because my theory behind that is it's a bit longer than a marathon and you don't, well, I've personally not felt the pressure of speed. You know, like when you do a road marathon, anybody in the general population will say, oh, what time did you do it in? And that'll be, whereas if you go to someone, you say, oh, I ran 31 miles or I ran 50k, they'll be like, oh my God, that's insane. Or that's amazing. Like they won't ask you about times because I do get a little bit paranoid that I'm one of the slower runners. So it is a bit, but yeah, I'm enjoying.
How did you get on with your marathon time during your 50k?
Well, it's funny because Edinburgh's always my benchmark now. And so far during the ultras, I've managed to beat my Edinburgh time.
Yeah,
Apart from the Devil, I'm not entirely sure how I got on with the Devil. I don't think I beat it then. In fact, I'm fairly certain I wouldn't have beat it then. But during Run the Blades and John Muir Way, I beat my Edinburgh time.
My marathon PB for distance is during the D33, which is completely flat. And so if you're wanting it's almost a road marathon, road ultra even, but it's not, it's trails / some of it's tarmac, then D33.
And what was your time for that?
Through marathon distance in 2:52, I think.
That's amazing. See, I'm just kind of like, oh my goodness, wow, that's insane. You know, like see when I hear like some people's times, like this is what I love about running, how diverse it is and how everybody can just have a chat about it. Like I would eventually in the future like to go for sub-5 on a marathon, which I'm sure I'll get in the future, but it's not at the top of my priority list. At the minute, I've got certain events that I'd just be happy to complete.
Yeah.
And just enjoy it or try and enjoy it. Enjoying it's a bonus. Completing is the main goal.
My official marathon time is Loch Ness, and I think that's 3:09. So that's what, almost half an hour or 20 minutes faster.
Is that not more hilly though than D33?
Loch Ness is probably net downhill.
Right.
So D33 is net zero because it's out and back. So
Yeah.
anything that you go up, you have to go down again.
Yeah. Glasgow to Edinburgh, I've heard is absolutely pan flat, and just with the canal too, you're right. So I've heard that's more psychological, and it's on tarmac the whole way. So
Yeah.
it's quite a tough course that way. Not for elevation because it's flat as, but you're doing all that distance flat.
Yeah. Right. Moving on to the next question. You said you got anxious about certain things. Do you get nervous before races?
Before the devil, my anxiety was that bad. I wasn't entering any more races ever again because as well as the training had gone, and I'd done the Glencoe to Fort William recce, and I'd done really well for myself in it, and that gave me a massive confidence boost in the sense of, right, I'm going to finish this. The week leading up to it, I had hardly ate a thing, which, as you know yourself, for nutrition is terrible. Like one of my really good pals, Davey, he took me up. Like he actually took a lot of pressure off by sorting out race logistics for getting there. And poor Davey, when we got up there, I'd actually taken a bag with me just in case I was sick. And we pulled up to Tindrum and I started being sick. And there was nothing there because I hadn't ate anything. It was just sheer nerves. And
Yeah.
I got to this, like, was kind of trying to speak to everyone. And everyone's like, you look terrified. I'm like, I am. They're like, why? I'm like, because it's like my dream race. And I've never done this distance before. Like, it's kind of a bit like I couldn't believe I was doing it. But like for the nerves and the anxiety and the lead up to that, I always like kind of tell myself I should never have finished that just on fueling basis. I still can't believe to this day how I managed. I genuinely don't. But I do get nervous before events and even social runs. Like as chatty as I can be as you're finding out. And like before social runs, I get really nervous because I'm like, I'm going to be the slowest. I'm going to hold everyone back. And I don't know. And I will
Yeah.
be sick at times. I don't know if that's just overexcitement as well.
Well, something for you to think about, and this might be total rubbish, but when you're nervous, what are your symptoms?
Sickness usually.
And sort of butterflies in the stomach,
I would say so.
raised heart rate,
Yeah.
Sort of clammy. And if you're excited, what are your symptoms?
They're very similar.
They are exactly the same. And the reason for it is because the chemical reaction in your brain for nerves and excitement are exactly the same. So the next time you're feeling nervous, tell yourself you're not nervous, you're excited.
Yeah.
So apparently that's a trick for public speaking. You're not nervous about something, you're excited about it, and that's how you get over it.
Yeah. I think the devil, because the build-up was so great and it was a race that I was really, really, really keen to do and finish because the course, you can't lie, is stunning. Even in the rain, the course is lovely. It was just, it was an amazing experience and I would love to go back and do it. I feel I could do it a lot better, if I'm honest, if I just relaxed a lot more.
So what race would make you the most nervous? What is your dream race?
Dream race. I've got quite a list of them being new, which is, I suppose, I mean, I'm enjoying this kind of this stage in the running because I've had quite a few seasoned runners, like yourself and other people that have done quite a lot, and it's quite lovely being new to all of this. So next year, I've signed up for the Fling. I suppose you could call that a dream race, and thinking, oh, if I do the Fling, because the long-term plan was, if I do the Devil, I'll do the Fling the next year, and then hope and keep everything crossed. I'll do the West Highland Way the year after if I get through the ballot.
Yeah.
But obviously, you can't have that as a fixed plan because if you don't get through the ballot, then what are you going to
do? There are other races.
Yeah,
Great Glen, you're going to struggle not to get into that if you I don't know what the qualification is, but if you can't get through the ballot on the West Highland Way, Great Glen is there, and I really recommend it.
Yeah. Even the Great Glen short course isn't short.
40 miles is not a marathon's not a short race.
Did you sweep the whole race for that last one?
I've swept the short course twice. I've ran the long one 4 times.
Yeah.
So, leading on from that, what is next? Is it the Fling?
Fling's the A race. To close the year out, I'm hoping and keeping everything crossed, I'll have one more ultra under my belt, which is John Muir Way Nocturnal, which is 5k loops in the dark. And I'm preparing myself mentally by saying in the rain as well, just in case. If it doesn't rain, it's a bonus, but it's November, so anything can happen. But again, that's a first for me. I've not done a loops race before, and I've not done a race in the dark either. So it's exciting.
Do you run with a head torch?
I've started running with a head torch when I've been going out with Epic Trails crew. I've been out with them twice since we've started wearing head torches. I'm getting used to it now.
What type of head torch have you got?
I've borrowed a lead lenser. It's John's work torch, but I don't actually know if I should actually say in case any of his work sees this. But I'll be getting a lead lenser of myself, of my own. I put a story out to ask people's advice on what they would recommend, and the recommendations that I got through was Phoenix. That was really popular, and lead lenser was another one, and then Petzl as well. I just thought all trail runners wore Petzl head torches, and it turns out that's not the case. The Phoenix gets a really good name as well.
Yeah, the lead lenser or LED lenser or however you pronounce it, I don't actually know. I've got 4 of them.
Right. So it's a good torch.
Do you know which model it is?
I don't, unfortunately. I just know it makes the trail really bright in front of me.
Yeah. They do loads. I've got 3 of the 7.2s, which have got like a square pack at the back.
Yeah.
And I've recently bought the H10, which has got a long battery at the back. It's exactly the same torch, it's just got a different battery.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I thoroughly recommend them.
As you say, as long as it works and it's, safe. I've been told to go with the lumens. How many lumens has it got?
Is it lumens? Most things do count in lumens, but you got to watch out for lumens because I think it's lumens. Yeah. Is it lumens or lux? One of them is how bright it is on a single point. And that's the measurement that they all use because they can do a higher number.
Yeah.
And apparently that's not actually what you want. You want the other one. It's how much light over a spread distance, because you want to be able to see the sides as well as straight in front of you on a single pinpoint. So use it. You've got the advantage of you're borrowing somebody's and you like it.
Yeah.
Go with it if you like it.
Yeah, I'm really fortunate that was the brand, because I'd never, again, like, I'm still learning so many new things. Like, I'd never heard of this until it was actually Mel Sykes that recommended a LED lead lenser to me. I was like, oh wow, that must be really good, because Mel's a dead good runner. So I go off the recommendations of as many people as I can, and then, but as I said, a lot came back to me with this Fenix. I think it's a Fenix. In fact, I don't even know, but there was a certain model that everybody had the same one of. So that seems to be decent. But as you say, I'm just going to go with what I know.
Yeah, the advantage for me, there's 2 advantages for the lensers. Is the 7s, you can put normal AAA batteries in it as well as the rechargeable ones. And also, they tend to be a lot cheaper than the other ones.
Yeah.
And a 7-year guarantee as well, which
that's handy.
I have used after like 6 years and no questions asked. Customer support, I thoroughly recommend that company.
Well, that's good. That's good to know.
Yeah. Right. Leading on, last question. If you had a dream person to run with, dead or alive, it's up to you, fictional or non-fictional, who would it be?
I think it would be a toss-up between either Courtney Dauwalter or Sally McRae, just because they're both amazing athletes in their own right, and just for different reasons. Like Courtney doing 3 100-milers in one season is insane. Probably Jasmine Paris is on that list as well, just completing the Barclay. Such inspiring women. And just to be able to ask them like so many questions. Sally McRae with all her strength work and inspiring others, and she's done her 200-milers. I mean, it still actually blows my mind that people do 200-mile events. I can't get my head quite round that.
For many people doing the devil, they couldn't get their mind around that, so it's relative.
I still can't get my mind around that. It actually spooks me, the thought of 53 miles next September, but I'm actually quite glad he's moved the dates for a bit longer of a training period. But yeah, definitely like Courtney Dauwalter, I would say, out of anyone. She just looks just dead nice. Just really easy, just really laid back.
And to finish off, you told me the answer to this question earlier. What was your daughter's, who would she say that you should run with?
Who would I say?
That your daughter would?
Oh, and yeah, she didn't quite understand the question. She's like, what do you mean dead or alive? And I'm like, oh, it's like a fictional thing, darling. She's only 6. I was like, so who would you run with? The Queen.
Fair enough.
I said, why the Queen? She's like, just because she's a queen.
It's as good a reason as anything else.
Exactly.
So we'll wrap it up there, and thank you for joining me tonight. I've got a race coming up this weekend. If anybody's interested, it is the backyard World Team Satellites Championship, where the UK team races in Suffolk, and there are 60 plus countries throughout the world, all race at home. We're all racing against each other. So that's what I'll be up to. And yeah, so thank you and if anybody wants to drop me a message, feel free. Provide support just like Nikki did. That's how we met. So thank you, and thank you for doing the podcast.
Thanks for having me, and good luck for the weekend. You'll smash it.
Thank you very much. Right. Bye.
Bye.